how to build the interest in the game. And let me ask you, having played professionally, did you ever represent your country in any capacity?
No, I did not. Not in any sense, like a Olympic or anything, or Team USA, nothing like that. No.
Wasn't sure even like in Little League or if there was any sort of that. And let me ask you, back in your playing days, if you had gotten the phone call and it was the World Baseball Classic or the Olympics, Xavier wants you on a team, what's your answer?
Yeah, that would be awesome to represent my country like that. Yes.
So do you have so now people can sense where we're going with this, international play and where baseball's going. And baseball got dumped by the Olympics a while ago, and not dissimilar to hockey where we can't send the professionals because it's a mid-season and blah blah blah, so not going to happen. So Olympics come back and like that sore kid says, I'm going to take my ball and go home. So they took their medals and went home, and there was no more baseball in the Olympics, and they replaced it with underwater basket weaving or something along those lines. And to me, not having baseball in the Olympics, how do you say this is not a sport in the Summer Olympics? It is the summer sport. And no baseball, no softball makes no sense to me. And then they brought it back in 2020, as they said, as an exhibition. And then they're saying it's not coming back in 2024. So that's part one. Part two, World Baseball Classic, looking at the years 06, 09, 2013, 2017. So WBC was going to happen 2021. A lot of interest generated in it. A lot of new countries got involved. They had the qualifying tournament. I'm Jewish background, seeing Team Israel. I'm like, yeah, this was amazing. I stayed up all hours. Like when WBC is going on, like I'm watching, like consuming like 12 hours of baseball a day easily. And I'm loving my life.
Yeah.
And with pandemic, they put it on pause. When you go on every website, it says WBC is postponed indefinitely. So do you think that WBC will go on, should go on? Should we be in the Olympics? What's your feeling of baseball in international waters? And is this good for the game?
Yeah, I would love to see the Olympics. I would love to see WBC. I'm hoping it does go on soon. I look at the game in the way that it's growing internationally, and I would love to see all countries, be able to be represented when it comes to things like Olympics and the WBC. But not just because of like the growth of our game, but because I think that in any capacity in which you can represent your country, that's amazing to see. But then also the perspective other people get to see, right? So whether it be somebody going to a different country to go play that game, whether it be somebody getting to see a glimpse of what that country is like when it's shown on TV, you mentioned Team Israel, getting to see a little bit of the country of what's there, what are some of the prolific areas to go to. We get a sense of seeing that when we watch the Olympics, when we watch WBC, those educational type moments. I think those are things that open up perspectives to a whole nother light. So I love that aspect of it, and I want to see more of it.
So we hosted here a qualifying tournament one year. I believe it was 09, if I'm not mistaken. And we had Canada, Team USA, and I'm not mistaken, it was South Africa and Venezuela. When Team Venezuela was playing, the Venezuelan side of the stadium, they were dancing the whole game. They were losing their minds. When Miguel Cabrera comes up representing Venezuela, the people utterly lost their minds. It was one of the greatest baseball moments I've ever seen in my life. I wish I could have seen Team Cuba, Japan, and seeing the excitement. I can tell you, watching at home and watching Team Cuba and learning their history and everything else. I remember watching Team Cuba, for example, and seeing that the team doctor keeps coming out for checking on the player. And I'm thinking, why is he doing the pitching change? He's a team doctor. And then I realized he's Castro's son. So Castro's son is sitting in the Cuban dugout the whole time as team doctor. And I'm thinking in my head, if I'm the players in the hotel, I'm probably watching myself around him, But he's actually a hero back home. And Castro came to him and said, you have a choice. You either go to the army or you go to medical school. He said, medical school it is. So you start to learn the stories behind the countries and the people. And, how many players graduated from the WBC into Major League Baseball that would have never had that opportunity otherwise because it's shown in that tournament. Kids watching in those countries and saying, oh, wow, I want to be a baseball player, and building more stadiums and, encouraging kids from the younger levels. I think WBC is a huge, huge, great thing for the game. And it just comes down to, again, economics and timing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love the fact of being able to see these different countries play the game. Like it's cool how some of these guys that are playing in the major leagues get to represent some of their backgrounds, right? Some of their countries that they came up in, or that they get to go back to and represent. Like I love that factor of it, and it's amazing. Even one of my good friends who never even played in the major leagues, I think of Blake Galen. He specifically played for Team Israel, and this is a guy that has been chasing a dream for a long period of time, and ultimately that becomes a dream for somebody. So I think of that being an ultimate goal for a lot of players.
So I think if you're a baseball fan, a baseball purist, I think there's no debate that you want to see baseball in the Olympics and see them in the WBC continue. From the Olympic side of it, it kind of bothered me when the professionals started going. To me, that the Olympics was about the amateurs. I remember, the golden moment in baseball to me is that 84 Olympic team with Mark McGuire and Corey Snyder and all those guys. And we had the baseball cards back in the day, and those guys all graduated, a lot of them to be major league stars. And I don't have an issue with that. I, in fact, encourage it. To me, like the professionals in a way, to me, is taking away from those amateurs and the people that otherwise would not get that kind of exposure. And it's still a high level of ball. It's still growing the sport. And the pros have already been there, they have their opportunity, right. So if we have to choose, if we have to do it during the season, bring out the amateurs, fine. It's still baseball. There's no reason not to have it. It's still going to be something that, us as baseball fans are going to watch it versus not watching. But, from the Olympic side of, it's dollars and cents, and we want professionals out there. And so they're not going to host the Summer Olympics, not in the summer. And we're not going to be postponing the season. That's a toughie, because it's in the heat of the pennant
Right.
races and risk of injuries and stoppages. So I kind of get that side of it. So if you're going to have me solve it, it's very simple. Just put the amateurs out there. Let's have amateur the way the Olympics was meant to be, and let's enjoy baseball. So I hope that's the route they're going to go. But unfortunately, with them already saying it's not going to happen in 2024, I don't see it. So if we're going to lose the Olympics, let's keep the WBC going. And I presume, yeah, let's do it. So I'm thinking 2024 is probably more realistic at this point, given the world conditions. But maybe they're going to restart in 2023. But regardless, I definitely hope we see it soon, and I definitely don't want to see it end. It's one of those things that. In any business venture, it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to look and just saying, okay, it's the semifinals and finals that drew the numbers. The other ones are not drawing as much as they did. It's not enough money generator. Let's move on to other stuff. I think we make enough money in baseball that we need to invest back, and having the game grow internationally, it's worth that investment. So I certainly hope that the owners and the players see that, because it's going to be good for everyone, in my estimation.
No, definitely. And I love the excitement that comes around WBC. And you think about, what we get to see on TV. You mentioned the fans in the stands for Venezuela. And a lot of that is such a great sense of how much people love the game. I feel like we got to see it more and more of all the countries.
Thank you for enjoying today's episode of the Chosen Life podcast. Go ahead and hit the subscription button below and the notification bell to catch all of our great shows. And remember to contact the Chosen Lawyers when you are ready for your next real estate and commercial transaction. Go to kormans.ca.